Which leads me to my next point about acceptance versus agreement. This one is huge to me. Um, I'm I'm always shocked by the notion that a lot of black people seem to feel, or at least enough of them, that we need to agree on everything to accept each other. In order to build a community together, in order to work together, we got to agree with each other. If we can't agree with each other, then we can't work together. Um, the most amazing thing is when I was purchasing my home and I was working with the black-owned mortgage agent, right? Mr. Marcus Elligan, co-owner, Black Mortgage Company, USA Mortgage. I lost two loans. Lost two loans. A big part of why I lost the loans was because I did not understand the home buying process. And in not understanding it, one of the key things I was trying to do is buy a rehab house to, rebuild the house. I like old houses, big old houses, with tall ceilings, big windows. And I wanted to take one and rehab and rebuild it, etc. In doing so, I didn't know about a thing called a 203K loan. I didn't know about other things connected to that. Well, there's a new law that was passed. A 203K loan is a contingency loan. We don't have to go into detail about them, but I know about them. So when it came time for closing, I had a black architect, black team ready to do all the work, internally design, rebuild the house. Everything was set. Except for when we got to closing, it was time for me to come up with another $25,000, which I didn't have. I was heartbroken. This was the second time I would lose a loan during the process. Well, actually the first time. So I remember going to different friends in the community, almost all black, probably close to 20. One was a small group. It was like 2 or 3 different small groups. It totaled about 20. But I remember what threw me off is across the board what I heard from almost everybody was this line right here. That's why I don't do business with black people. I'm sorry. And I just would listen. I thought maybe they know something I don't. I was discouraged. I wasn't in the best frame of mind. One in particular was telling me how they work with 3 different mortgage companies. And this is one of the ones, this is why I don't really deal with black people. You got to get, blah, blah, blah. But I went through one mortgage agent, wasn't good, so I went to another one. Then the second one. Then the third one, and the fourth. And I'm thinking, hold on, so wait a minute. And this would make me go back to work with this brother. I said, you would work with 3, 4 different mortgage agents. I asked, what color were all of them? What color were all of them? All of them were white. So you work with 4 white males that have actually failed you. And you won't stop. You'll go to the next one, the next one. But if the black guy gets it wrong, I'm done with all black people. That's why I don't work with all black people. Immediately the next day, I called him. I can't say we argued because he wasn't trying to argue, but I was upset. And we went a little back and forth. But I said, listen, brother, I'm not leaving you. So whatever we're going to do, we're going to figure this out. Ultimately, he helped to put me in a 7-bedroom home, and we worked it out. This notion or this thinking that we have to gel immediately on everything to work together is just immature, and it's not realistic, family, at all. It's not going to, not only does life not work like that, you can't build an organization. It's really, I believe, ungodly and really immature. I remember, I had a conversation with a rabbi, just listening to him talk. This guy is going in, and we're talking about whatever. And then somehow we got to a point where the rabbi brings up, do you know who Jewish people sue in court the most? I'm thinking, what? No. Who? He said, other Jews. I said, I don't get your point. He said, the bottom line is the money doesn't leave the community. If somebody doesn't do what is right, they're held accountable, even if we got to go to court about it. But we don't move on to the next person, to outside the community. We just move to someone else within the community that can do just as good of a job, or if not better. Right? A situation doesn't work, it doesn't work. I'm going through a situation now where I'm likely to have a brother in another state. He was in DC, now he's in Atlanta. I wrote some music, created a film, never saw a dime. He's become very popular off of my music. I never got it done. I'm looking forward to be held accountable to courts because we haven't been able to work it out amicably. But am I going to not work with anyone else in the industry? No, I'm working with tons of other Black artists and musicians. Has nothing to do with that. The money's not leaving my community, but we need to deal with this issue, right? So that's what happened. It always blows me away when I see I'll be sitting and I'll hear African Americans. Maybe I'm somewhere eating, and let's say whatever court show comes on, and if it's two Black people, I'll hear one person always never fails that, oh my God, look at this. Blacks with blacks. Wow, what's wrong with our people? What's happening? This just looks so bad. Why does it look bad? It's actually good. In most cases, you see an African American trying to work with an African American. It didn't work out. Something failed. That relationship didn't work out. Somebody ought to be held accountable. What to me they're showing you is we tried to work together. We understood the importance of trying to work together. And it was failed. Maybe somebody didn't do the right thing. But this thought that I got to now not work with my community ever again because I had to do that is insane. I was talking to another friend, an Asian friend, who owned a sushi spot. We all hanging out. Me and my wife love sushi. So and we're talking, and jumps up and starts really kind of going off about how he didn't like, or they don't like, can't stand somebody else who opened a sushi spot not far from there. He talked about, we talked, it's too close. They were going on and on and on and on. Really angry. So I thought, okay, well, what do you want to do? Oh, I'm going to talk to him. How are you going to do that? Oh, when I take my kids to school, we got this meeting at the school. We talk to them at the school. Yeah, we're in the same community. Yeah, we live. And we started talking, and it basically summed it up in saying, listen, Marcell, I don't care if we fight within my community. This is my community. We're sticking together. And I understood at that moment why the money stays within the Asian community 30 days before it leaves, and the European converted Jews community 17 to 20 days before it leaves. I understood that. We have to change our thinking that acceptance and agreement is not always the same thing. We got to be able to accept each other and our differences to work together. Or we're going to have a serious challenge building an economy. My son, we were on the way to school. And on the way to school, this was right after Donald Trump became president. My son, everybody in the house was kind of downcast. I didn't know how I really felt. I didn't have a whole lot of thought. But I was interested in what my son thought. And so on the way to taking him to school, he said, Daddy, is Donald Trump going to kill me? And he's a new teenager. He's 13. So I'm thinking, what? So I'm like, no, son, I explained to him the judicial system and how it all works, and the president have to follow this and da-da-da, and have to pass a law. And he's like, okay. But then I looked at him, I said, son, do you understand capitalism? What? Capitalism, son. So I start explaining capitalism. And I asked him, I helped him understand as best I could. It looks like he got it. white supremacy, we talked about white supremacy, we talked about is the religion of America. It's the #1 religion. It's the primary religion of America. All the rest of them kind of fit in there. We talked about capitalism. And I said capitalism is like having the ball, right? And I said, son, if I went onto the football team, your football team, and I started running all around with my basketball, trying to bounce it on the field during the game, it's like, Dad, that wouldn't work. That, like, you don't play it like that. I said, well, what if I went on the basketball court on your basketball games, and I took a football and I just started throwing them at the goal and running around? He's like, that's not how the game works. You can't play. I'm like, yeah. So what if I meant football? And we started talking about the economy, and we started talking about capitalism, and I'm like, well, what if I give away all my money? And we started talking about how that's kind of like interceptions, Dad. Like, you'll never win the game like that. Never win the game like that. You know how people's face look when someone throws an interception, especially when they're really, really close? Do you guys remember the Seahawks game? Do you remember how the people... Let me show you.
Play clock at 5. Pass is intercepted at the goal line by Malcolm Butler.
Beats him to the punch, and I'm sorry, but I can't believe the call.
Me neither.
I cannot believe the call. You've got Marshawn Lynch in the backfield. You've got a guy that's been borderline unstoppable in this part of the field. I can't believe the call.
And there is Brady. As demonstrative as ever, and Richard Sherman.
No!
Unreal.
What? How? No! No! Why would you throw?
Unreal.
Ball. That makes no sense. That makes no sense. That makes no sense. God, I can't believe they had the game won. We had the game won.
Pass is intercepted at the goal line by Malcolm Butler.
Why didn't they run it? Why didn't they
Unreal.
run it?
I wonder, did we respond like that in the black community when we're giving away our money? When somebody shows up to family cookout and they got on all European gear, particular of European designers that have made it public that they despise your community and your people. And we show up at or we start bragging, like, or start joking each other, like, what kind of shoes you got on? Ew, I got on some European designer, whoever it may be. You know, it was incredibly impressive. I was looking at the economy in South Africa, and the way that the leaders are talking about there after apartheid, many of the South Africans are unified so much, they're shifting the economy. Did you guys know that? They're shifting their own, let me let you.
After the end of apartheid, black South Africans got opportunities that weren't there before. Pindi and Chepo took them with both hands, although it wasn't easy.
It wasn't easy.
Yeah, it wasn't easy. And the ambition or what we were taught at school, we were never taught that we should change the economy. The system taught us to be either a worker or a social worker, a policeman, the general worker. The system never taught us to be empowerers. You know, they taught us that we need to be empowered.
For Johan Grobler and his family, life today looks a lot less rosy than it once did.
Vroeger jare ja, het was nie soos hulle nou. Kom ons noem dit nou maar die apartheidsjare. Ja. Ek sal nie sê dit was regverdig nie, maar dit is presies wat dit nou is dit net teenoorgestel. Dis nog steeds apartheid. Hoe jy daarna kyk. Maak nie saak wat jy doen.
Apartheid word met de blanken in een slechte positie.
Dis nou ja. Ons was daai tyd in 'n goeie posisie, hulle was nou sleg. Dis was apartheid. Nou is dit weer omgedraai. Bly nog steeds apartheid. Maak nie saak wat jy doen nie.
I'm actually fancy that silver one.
Blacks should realize their strength because, interestingly enough, you know, the money is with the whites, but the economy is within the blacks. So, but if they don't realize that they have the economy, they can't have the money because they don't realize what they have. So they need to start thinking amongst themselves, empowering themselves.
Did you guys notice that the whites, now I don't wish this on anybody, but the whites were living in junkyards and families, small groups of families. The white guy said that apartheid was never, you know, what was happening to the blacks was never cool. But what the South Africans started doing is if they were buying pot, they was buying it from each other, shoes, and they started building their own economy. And like the black guy said, the African man in South Africa, they got the money. You can keep your money. We got the economy. We're not giving away our inheritance. We're not doing that anymore. That's how we were able to be treated the way we were treated, basically, essentially being enslaved. We gave away, you can't give away your gold and still expect to be a king. You can't give away your gold and still expect to be a king. It's insane. Which leads me to my next point of equality versus equity and understanding that.